Let me talk about the elections here for a second, which I know you all were touching on earlier, and we'll get us in more discussion about that right now. In the recent elections in Pakistan, the Islamist parties were defeated, routed in some cases. Janice, will that help bring stability to the area?
Let me make it just a little more complicated, because we have a really interesting paradox.
That's what we need. We need this story to get more complicated.
More complicated. Yeah. But we have a fascinating paradox that actually has come out of the recent Pakistani elections. You have the defeat of the Islamist parties in the border areas for a paradoxical reason. Because they were seen as closely linked with Musharraf, because they were seen as associated with a strategy which sent the military to confront directly into the border areas.
Can I just stop you for a second? Because this may not make sense. They lost the election because they were seen as being close to Musharraf,
and therefore,
who's America's puppet, they claim.
Yes.
So how does that make any sense?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Our categories don't fit too neatly here, and I think it's important that we understand that. I mean, let me say it again. Islamists lost because they were seen as too closely associated with a military strategy supported by the United States. Now, what's the strategy now? And here's the interesting test, because we've talked about dialogue, right? The strategy of the Pakistan Awami League, National League, which is in fact the
ANP.
The ANP.
In the frontier provinces.
In the frontier provinces, is an interesting strategy. It's remove the military, in fact, proceed to the kind of dialogue that you're talking about, engage tribal leaders, have, in fact, traditional jirgas or councils which can spill over the border. So much of what, in fact, and don't use the military, right? Don't confront directly. And that, more than anything else, will defeat militants because there will be a restoration.
Everybody's putting their hand up. They want in here. We'll tell you first, then Zafar.
In order for someone to lose election, they have to contest elections. I'm extremely delighted that liberal forces have won in Pakistan. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Islamic forces have lost in Pakistan. The alliance of mullahs, which won large seats in 2002, wasn't there to contest. It was just one party. The primary organizational force in Pakistan that represents the right-wing mullahs is Jamaat-e-Islami, which is the most organized party, actually the only organized party in Pakistan, and that boycotted the election.
But Murtaza,
and I would hope that when the elections happen again and they contest, they lose bitterly.
Murtaza, the Jamaat-e-Islami does not run in the NWFP. The Jamaat-e-Islami strength was never there. The strength, if you look at the elections from 1948 to now, it is the Jamiat Ulama-e-Islam, both its wings, that have formed government. Mufti Mahmood formed the chief minister. The Jamaat-e-Islami won one seat in Chitral.
Tarek, help me. And therefore, the point is what?
The point is that they were defeated comprehensively. In fact, the Jamaat-e-Islami, the party that said boycott the elections, failed because the vote percentage went up from the 2002 elections. Janice is partly correct that the JUI, the Islamists, were connected with the Musharraf, but in what way? The military intelligence and the ISI, the creators of the Taliban, were always linked with the JUI. They were always there recruiting Pakistanis to send to Afghanistan to fight the war. But there were 6 parties in the Islamist alliance. Parties that were supported by Iran were defeated. Parties that were supported by Saudi Arabia got defeated.
So you're happy about all that, obviously.
And the party that won openly proclaims itself to be a secular Pashtun nationalist party. You cannot get elected by saying that we are secular and yet say the Islamists didn't lose.
Zafar.
Much has been talked about the ANP. Let's get this clarified. The ANP is on record as saying that they don't want the American forces over there. It's not only a secular, but it's a leftist party.
Absolutely.
And they are pro Moscow, in fact. In fact, they are categorically opposed to American intervention. So anybody who's hitching their horses on the ANP are going to be sadly mistaken.
How is pro-Moscow?
Excuse me, let me finish, please.
No, I'm worried about the Moscow part.
Yeah, no, I'll come to that, don't worry. Just wait a minute. With respect to the election itself, I think people should keep in mind that this election or these results are not going to bring any stability to Pakistan. It's in fact a hodgepodge of a result. I foresee that perhaps within less than a year's time, there will be another election because all of these, the two main political parties, the PPP and the Muslim League of Nawaz Sharif, etc., they are both vying for power, but I think their alliance is unstable. It will not last too long, and in fact, within a year, we might see another election.
Let me ask the bottom line question here to you. Are you confident that any Pakistani government, whether it's dominated by the civilians or dominated by the military, has the best interests of Afghanistan at heart?
There is, well, from one side, I will agree with Zafar Bangash that it may come back because Pakistan is ruled mostly by military.
Correct.
And we will see there's two scenarios. The ANP, is by the way, it's not a pro-Moscow. It's not a Cold War is over, by the way. And there's no...
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
So the ANP is a moderate. They are Muslims. They are a moderate party. They win the elections not because they are moderate, because people are tired of the tyranny, because of violence, because of the extremist views that was promoted in the area. Now, there's two options.
But do they have good intentions towards Afghanistan?
If the ANP gets the federally administered territories included into the Northwest Frontier Province and remove this very old, outdated name and give Pashtuns to reclaim their identity, then things will go good. And to remove the Taliban making factories in the Pakistani territory. If they succeed in that, well, things will go.
Let me follow up on this.
Just one moment. Otherwise, the military will crash this movement. Maybe in 6 months, maybe you'll have more information, maybe in 1 year. If the military crashes this movement, we will go back to the Talibanism, we will go back to those factories, we will go back to fighting in Kandahar.
Let me